everyone. I'm Elisa Vitti, the founder of Flow Living, and we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of our company and, of course, of helping women recover from hormonal issues naturally. To celebrate, I'm leading a series of conversations with some of my favorite female founders, athletes, activists, authors, and women who have been on their own hormonal journey, because we're all on one. And we're here to unpack why it's important that you understand your hormones and how they work, to remind you that suffering is optional, and to educate you and encourage you on why it's important to take action. Joining me today is my friend Danica Patrick. Danica is an American former professional racing driver. She is the most successful woman in the history of American open wheel car racing and was the first to break through this male-dominated sport. Her victory in the 2008 Indy Japan 300 is the only win by a woman in an IndyCar series. Highest finishing female in both the IndyCar and NASCAR races. Now that she's done racing professionally, she is the host of the Pretty Intense podcast. She speaks all over the country, is an entrepreneur, owns 2 wine companies called Somnium and Danica Rose, an investor, and does host broadcasting for select IndyCar and NASCAR and Formula One races. Danica, it is such a privilege to have you. You are
thank you.
Such a role model, such an inspiration. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. You're reminding me why I now feel like I'm back. Like, it took 5 years after retiring for me to feel like, okay, it's been 5 years. And I'm like, I think I work full time again. I've pretty busy to squeeze in all of my fun vacations as well as the work that I'm doing. I'm like, wow, I'm now full time again.
You're full time. Yes, you are full time. Well, we're here to share everybody's hormonal journey. We've had such interesting guests on chatting about their unique story. I know your story, but I want everybody to hear it from you. Let's get into it. Tell us, what has been your experience of dealing with your hormones so far?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I'm so glad you're doing this because, women in particular are it's so much more intricate, and the general pattern routine of life is not super conducive to being maximizing, optimizing, as well as relaxing at the right times. So, I mean, I would say that, basically baseline is, I didn't really realize that there were so many things, like that there were so many different buckets that contributed to hormonal dysregulation. Like, I just kind of thought, I wasn't really afraid of that because I was like, I eat healthy, I work out,
You're an athlete.
Yeah, and I'm an athlete, and all the things. Like, I feel like I take care of myself. But there are so many things that contribute to the dysregulation, everything from your emotional state to how much you're working out, when you're working out, what you're eating, how much you're eating, your stress levels, sleep. There's just so many more things. And so I guess I used to look at it like, oh, today I worked out, and that's just one thing. And then, I just thought that was a separate bucket, that, like, aside from hormones, right? Then there was like, oh, and then I, did this mental challenge that I, took a lot of energy. And then, I used to just think they were all separate, but and then I didn't sleep great, but, I got a good breakfast, and there's just so many things that contributed. So I guess what I would say for myself is that just learning how important it is for to have rest and balance in life. And so I think I worked out way too much. I had way too much emotional stress throughout, sporadically across time. I probably, wasn't eating properly. I mean, I ate really healthy, but you know what? You probably shouldn't be eating like low carb or paleo forever. There's certain, complex carbohydrates that I didn't have for 7 years. I mean, but I thought I was doing the best job possible with my body. And so the problem is that you have a good response initially to things. And then you think that's the thing. I got to work out twice a day. Now I got to eat paleo the rest of my life. And you just can't. Like, the body can have a response that's positive, but it doesn't mean it's going to work forever. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to the well on it. So, and then on top of that, when I was younger, when I was 32 or 3, I got breast implants too. And so then I'm putting a foreign object in my body, which had its own cascade of problems that I feel like is becoming so much more well known across the board in the country and in the world of women that, are making the change to going more natural and getting rid of unnatural things in their body, because there's a cost. And so for me, the cost probably was an additional hormone dysregulation, because the body's so damn strong and good, and it like does a really good job, but you can't just throw everything at it. So, and some are more powerful than others. And so, so I think for me, probably the implants were one of those things. Over time, they continue to get harder and harder, which was a side effect of the body producing more and more scar tissue around them to protect me, because they were not good for me.
Right.
And, I fast forward to sort of going into years of uncovering all this, which, my side effects were, weight gain, hair loss, thyroid dysfunction, hormonal imbalances, basically like dropping them out, adrenal fatigue, cortisol was out of whack. I had gut dysbiosis, leaky gut. These are all very common, mold, metals. So the last couple of years have been, overwhelming, really, to try and figure it out. And it's still an ongoing thing, although it's much more under control. And I don't feel like I am quite so consumed by it. It's just a process. And so the more we can teach young kids that it's all connected, and how to take care of themselves the best, and what to stay away from, will just make them better in the future. And if there's anything I can do at this point in time, it's just to help educate people on my journey so that they don't have to go through the same challenges.
I mean, I think it's so powerful that you came out with the story around your breast implants, because, the things that women have been marketed to, that the body doesn't necessarily need, right? They do have, a lot of endocrine disruption as a fallout that's discussed much later. And it's unfortunate that so many women have to come to that, like you did, individually, when we should just be given all the information from the start. How was your period for you as an athlete? Were you someone who had your cycle? Did you have irregularities with your cycle? Were you on medication? What was your experience of going through all this intense racing and athleticism, and your cycle?
Yeah, well, I was on birth control the whole time. So I was on birth control for 16 years. So I remember hearing a few years back that that your period when you're on birth control is not a real period. It is basically a withdrawal bleed. And I was like, really? So that was revolutionary. Like, why don't we know that? Why is that not like, hey, the doctor, why is it that, I mean, I got it because I was driving race cars and I did not want to have children, and that was my priority. So, I had that reason. But for other, girls that come in, and I say girls because a lot of times it's young, they have, they're breaking out, or they have,
Some cramps.
they have cramps, they have just, they don't feel good, their back hurts, they have all kinds of symptoms that are coming up when their period comes. And, the doctor will just go, get on birth control. This will help you. Why don't they also say, but just so you won't have a real period the whole time you're on it. You will feel better, but this is.
Or not. I mean, a lot of women, when they go on birth control,
Really?
they actually have, increased rates of depression. They don't feel well. They don't feel like themselves. Some women react really badly to the synthetic hormones. But you may, I'd love for there to be a conversation where the doctor would say something like, symptoms are a sign that your body needs something.
Yeah, right. It doesn't need a synthetic drug. It needs a change in lifestyle. whether that's workouts or food or stress or
The
sleep.
things that support our endocrine system
Yeah.
are missing, right?
Yeah.
And if we were just given just a little bit of that information at the right time, I think women would make, you know, different choices for their health care, you know, that would be more in line with just this idea that you have to care for your hormones each and every day with the things that you're putting into your body and the ways that you're choosing to take care of yourself, you know, with fitness, with other things, with work, with rest. When you look back and realize that you weren't cycling and you didn't even necessarily need to be on that medication because you weren't having any hormone issues, you know, and now you know about the cycle syncing methodology and how you could have maybe used your cycle in a different way to train and to prepare. Do you have any sort of wishes
Sure.
of?
I mean, I think about the testosterone element of it and how it continues to reduce that. And I'm like, I had the lowest amount of testosterone than probably possible as my career went on and on and on. Like I got less and less man, right? I got less and less like tough, aggressive, like all the stuff that I really would have been like really appreciative for, or muscle building or
Yeah.
performance, like enhancing naturally. Like it would have been nice if I would have had the normal operating system to support me in my 20s and 30s. But yeah, again, that's stuff that they don't really talk about and you don't really know about. So because at the end of the day, it's all, I mean, follow the money, you know, like there's, I'm sure
Mm,
it's I don't, you probably have the numbers on it, what size industry it is, but you know, birth control or things like that, it's a very big business. And so, you know, so is sick care, you know, as a big business. Like they don't,
yeah.
hospitals and doctors and drug companies don't make money off of being well. So, you know, I think that for me, it was, you know, coming off of it seemed initially okay. And then that kind of had its ups and downs, and it still doesn't.
Well, all the birth
Now.
control. I mean, first of all, you had all that depletion, and then on top of that, you had the breast implants. And so you were just, you had a really intense time getting yourself to a place of stability. And now, you know, your cycle is more regular. How are you incorporating cycle syncing into your self-care practice these days?
Yeah, I think the most important is really about progesterone and just encouraging the body to build up progesterone so that the cycle comes every month. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I think the hardest one is like for me to change my workouts or like take the energy down. Although I definitely don't do like crazy hit workouts and CrossFit anymore. I'm pretty much
Good.
sort of lifting weights, and so it's not ever, nothing is ever like I don't think it's super cortisol producing, the things that I do now. And my cardio is just walking. So walking is, I mean, I learned this through wearing a CGM, a continuous blood glucose monitor, is that, you know, that would drop my blood sugar and calm me down. So like my workouts sometimes are actually calming and cortisol reducing as opposed to spiking it, which then creates its own sort of cascade. So but I'd say that the workouts tend to stay very similar throughout the month, but I do try and incorporate more carbohydrates and things like that to really give my body the ability to produce the progesterone that it needs to have a cycle, as well as just like, you know, taking it easier, doing the best I can to sort of note those times where if I am a little bit more tired to rest, or if I am more hungry to eat more, as there are certain times we burn more, and or feed those cravings at that point in time with various different foods, especially carbohydrates, because you know there's a reason why we have some of those cravings. It's because the body is trying to work the mechanism. So yeah, so it's helpful to know what needs to happen at those different phases in your cycle, because especially as I get older and older, I'm 41 now, you know, it becomes ever more increasingly important to take care, to be a good caretaker of hormones. And it's not so automatic like when you're 24 and things are just happening. You know, you do have to kind of look after it a little bit more to maintain it so that you can cycle as long as possible.
I love that. I think, you know, giving yourself the gift for the next 10 years to take care of the cycle now that you have it back, so that you can have an easy perimenopause transition and have your cycle as long as possible. It's such a good
Does
thing
it
to be
make
doing.
does it make menopause easier if you
Well,
do?
menopause is the last bleed.
Right.
Perimenopause is the thing that we want to make as easy as
Well, that's
possible.
what I'm wondering is like my mom, has her half years right now and she's like, it's miserable. So if you take care of yourself hormonally and if you extend the length of the amount of time that you cycle in your life, does it make the final phase of menopause after your last bleed easier?
Well, we should be doing more studies on this. And what I can tell you is I've been having the pleasure of chatting with some other women in this series who are in their early 50s who are still cycling,
Yeah.
have had zero symptoms, no hot flashes, no night sweats,
Wow.
and they've been caring for their hormones in different ways consistently through their 30s and 40s, and it
Wow.
really pays off. So if
Yeah.
you are starting with this cycle syncing practice, which is the most direct way to really keep your hormones happy, from blood sugar to cortisol, progesterone, estrogen, all of those things, a structure to help you do that. And you do that for as long as possible, right? We see that it's possible for women to have this experience of transitioning through perimenopause with very little symptoms, right? I mean, it's exciting to be able to share that narrative, because it's just as revolutionary to say that as it was when I first started saying, a decade plus, not really 20 years ago, that you don't actually have to have PMS, right?
Yeah, right.
That's actually not true. It's not scientifically accurate for you to believe that PMS is a necessary part of the cycle. That's
Sure.
just a hormonal imbalance that you can fix. And the fact that we're just now, 20 years later, starting to really appreciate that PMS is optional is a really good thing. But I'm hoping we can have an adoption rate around perimenopause symptoms being optional as well, go a little bit faster, because it doesn't have to be the sort of nightmarish thing that people tell these stories about. You melt into a puddle of night sweats and explode into a hot flash. We never saw her again. She went in the bathroom and had a hot flash, and she just disappeared. She evaporated. And I think that we tell these stories because we're afraid of the things that we don't know and understand. And what we're trying to do at Flow Living is just really make this information, not just the information accessible, but also tools and support to help you navigate through all these changes as easy as possible. So now that we've just launched all of this new stuff for everyone to have access to, you can download the app for free and put in any and all of the symptoms that you're having, so that the app can tell you exactly why you're having these issues from a functional health perspective, and then customize a care plan for you to start walking away from those symptoms naturally and safely. And I think that's just really exciting, because we need a tool to help us navigate this. It's putting the burden on every individual woman to have to become a subject matter expert is not practical. So, I've just been on a mission since I was patient zero myself a long time ago, to have something that was easy. What would be the thing that I would have loved to have had a long time ago?
Until it's mainstream information and taught to us from a young age and it becomes a worldwide awareness for women, you will have to become a mini expert, because that's part of the discovery of when you usually get to the problem and then have to navigate your way out. It's not usually, because otherwise you wouldn't get to the problem, because you'd have the answer before the problem occurred. So unfortunately there's too many patient number ones but it won't be like that forever.
I know, we're hopeful. We're hopeful for something to shift in the narrative. I think it's incredible that you've used your platform to talk about these issues. Why is that so important to you?
Well, I don't think it is to everyone. I think that some people are more private about their journey. I think some people are more embarrassed. I think some people, maybe just don't think that they also have the reach. But, I'll say that my decision to get the implants out really stemmed deeply from watching so many videos on YouTube and following people and looking at Instagram accounts. And these are the views on some of these stories of women that were talking about their experience and what was going on with their implants and then the explant and various different, they might have had 100 views. Like, they were not like 50,000 views or 1,000,000 and like I'm getting great info. They were like very, very small amount of views, but all of those stories really carried a lot of weight with me because they were real. So I guess I just think to myself, I know how hard it is and how it's been, and I don't want someone to have to deal with that. I also think that there's just a little bit of a justice situation too, with just wanting to rectify the lack of information with the truth, so that companies are accountable for putting people in tough positions because they wanted to make money. That's not right. So yeah, and the fact that I have a platform, so I feel like, man, if this isn't what fame's for, what is, right? Like, you have a platform and people are listening to you, might as well tell them. So my sharing my story about my explants in particular, I never said I got them in the first place, right? So then I had them taken out, and 48 hours later, I had noticed such a dramatic difference, and it felt so much better that I literally posted. I ran out of like characters that I could use in the post because I wrote so many words, but I basically announced I got them out, but nobody even knew I got them in. Like, that was how dramatic it felt to me. And I was like, I just feel like I should tell people, like, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. And the thing is because every other thing that I tried was also going to be the thing. I was like, oh, the first thing I ever tried in the whole journey was thyroid medicine. I was like, oh my God, this will be it. Every problem solved. Everything will go back to normal. That'll help my hair. It'll help my weight. All the things. And I was like scratching the surface. I'm still trying to get my thyroid back. I mean, of all the things that I've worked on, that is the hardest. That has been the hardest. I've gotten my testosterone up. Estrogen and progesterone have kind of followed better flow, and metals have come down, and mold, and all those kinds of things. Gut has gotten healed better. And
this is all within the space of 1 year, which is, I think, an important thing to put. Well, to put a picture frame around the fact that it's not this hugely unending journey that, the body is responsive.
1 year since explant, 2 years of working very hard on my pills, potions. I mean, you name it. Like, I tried all the things, all the fasting, all the NAD, all the peptides, all the
but nothing really started to support you until those implants came out. And then 1 year from,
it's like a great barrier to entry. Like, it was the Great Wall of China. It was
and the body just started responding. And I mean, the fact that you had, we were connecting around all these things, and
and you helped me dearly. And
what we were looking at on your levels of things was just, it was unbelievable. I mean, and to see how far you've come, it's like remarkable. I'm never unimpressed by how responsive the body is, even though you had layer upon layer upon layer of things that were just really making it difficult for you to function. You're here, and your body is just like really rebounded in a profound way. And yes, there's some things to keep working on, but my goodness, like, it's so inspiring. It never ceases to inspire to see.
The body wants to reach homeostasis.
It does.
Continue to remove the things that don't let it do it,
and put in the things that support it. And you're doing that so beautifully. And I'm just so happy that you're feeling so much better. What do you wish women could know? If someone's listening to us right now, what do you want someone to know about dealing with her hormonal issues if she's sort of in the midst of it right now? What are some words of wisdom or some guidance you can give her?
Well, the stress that you have about it is probably the worst of it all, to be honest. I mean, it's like so hard to overcome that. But it was someone I followed on Instagram, and it was some lovely words that were said. And it basically, to sum it up quickly, it's like, just, you have to sit back enough to be able to go, I'm doing everything I can, and I trust that my body knows what to do. So that your body can, because if you're, give a racing term, you're up on the chip about it, if you're like on the rev limiter and you're going, and trust me, I've been there, the body is constantly producing cortisol. It's constantly in stress mode, and nothing works as efficiently when you're doing that. And so, I think that's why sometimes people can go on a vacation and feel so much better, or, even just like the simple thought of like people that want to have babies and they finally give up and they relax about it and they go get drunk on tequila and get pregnant. Like,
not recommended.
got to reduce the stress level, right? And I think that, that would be my message, is just like, trust that everything that you're doing, the fact that you're even aware that there's an issue and that you need to fix it, you're halfway there. And now just relax and trust that your body knows what to do when you give it time to heal. I think that's also a part of it, is just like, give it time to heal. And I'm the worst at that, but the less I do, the better I get. It really, like, because
if I could put if I could put a picture frame around that thought, of like, be patient, be compassionate, give yourself the time and space. It took time to get to the disrupted place that you're in. And so it's only logical that it's going to take some time and consistency with your follow through. But you're right, in a low stress way, low pressure, internal pressure way. There's no race, right? It's not a race. And I think that's an apropos image for us to use, especially with you. But getting healthy is not a race. It's really just a constant relationship that you're having with yourself, of taking care of yourself. I think that's such good advice. I know a lot of women just want everything to happen right away. And
you think this month I'll check my levels and I'll check them again next month. And it's like, how about you just give yourself about a year?
Depending on the severity of the issues,
6 months,
symptoms,
something.
3 to 6 months for sure.
Like, don't just think that I'll just, like I've done many times, I'll just take this one pill and I'm better. Like next week I should feel like. You really got to push out the timeline and just trust that you didn't, like you said, you didn't get there overnight. You're not going to get there. You're not going to get back overnight, and that your body has to learn and can trust you and heal. And it's just going to take a little time.
Yeah, no, that's such important guidance. Thank you so much, Danica, for your story. I think, sharing these stories makes it more comfortable for women to really feel like they're not alone. And I think it's so incredible that you've chosen to be so brave to use your platform to share about this topic in general and everything that's come with it, from explants to hormones and everything in between. I think you have been obviously trailblazing in so many ways with your career as a race car driver, but now as this person who is just advocating for truth and transparency. And it's really, really courageous. So I just commend you on that. I am so thrilled to be celebrating this 10-year anniversary with you. Thank you for being here with us. We are hoping to do our part at Flow Living to trailblaze a path of our own to help women know what daily hormonal health care should look like, and to provide the tools and products and support to help them make that as easy as possible. So thank you for being part of the celebration with us, and we're looking forward to the next chapter.
Well, congratulations, and thank you so much for your help along the way. Thank you for your books. I devoured them as fast as I've ever devoured books, and because I really needed and wanted that information. So thank you for providing that for those who are searching.